And as a pick me up, I think I want to talk about Unai Emery's Aston Villa because they've been sensational this season. But since we last spoke on the pod, they've had an incredible run of results and goal scoring games, and it's been fantastic, hasn't it? Because they beat West Ham 4-1. That was a sensational result. Alkmaar as well, same score. It's one test after another being passed with flying colours, and at the centre of that, for me, it feels like it's Douglas Luiz. He's come on into his own so
Mm,
much as a midfielder. And I know you've
yeah.
got Jude Bellingham as like the gold standard of midfielders in Europe at the minute. How does he rank Douglas Luiz? Because it feels like everything he does is coming off. He wins the
Mm,
ball back brilliantly. He's full of energy. He's full of drive. He's assisting. He's scoring. His goal scoring run at Villa Park is incredible. He's the first Villa player to
mm.
score 6 consecutive games in a row, isn't he, at Villa Park? So
Since Dwight York.
since Dwight
Yeah.
York, which is a long time, and he's
Yeah,
made that role kind of his own, really. I mean, there's so many
absolutely.
midfielders Villa could choose, but he's the first name on the team sheet at the minute. How excited are you to have him in your team?
Honestly, it's amazing to me because it's a player that obviously is recognised by some elite managers and top clubs. Guardiola brought him in at City and was clearly very disappointed to have to let him go. That only happened because of work permit issues at the time. And it took some time for him to kind of reach the level we knew he could at Villa. I think that's massively down to management. Steven Gerrard didn't exactly fancy him, but Emery has transformed him into the midfielder that we knew he could be. Far too often when he first came into Villa, because we were kind of playing towards the bottom end of the table and then trying to push the mid-table, he was having to do so much of the defensive work that we never saw his kind of box-to-box quality like we are seeing now. But bringing in Boubacar Kamara and really getting him on fine form has just freed Luiz up now. He's almost like our
Mm.
spare man in midfield that manages to just be everywhere you need him to be, because you know that McGinn's going to help in the attack. You know he's going to want to get forward. He's going to make those runs. You know Kamara's going to shield the defence. And that gives Luiz the freedom of the pitch to just dictate the rest of the game. And he's done that amazingly. He's missed out on the last few Brazil squads, which seems criminal to me, but he'll absolutely be back in the next one, because right now, I would argue he's the informed midfielder in the league behind maybe Declan Rice and Szoboszlai.
Yeah,
I just think he looks
fair.
elite level now, and that's what Villa need to kick them onto this level. I'm not used to talking about Villa the way that I have been recently, and I'm really conscious of talking to my friends about it, not sounding arrogant, because it's really weird seeing how good we are. It's the best I've ever seen us, quite comfortably. We're now looking at a run
Yeah,
of 12 wins in a row at Villa Park in the league, where we've scored 34 goals and conceded 6.
that's
Like, that
sensational.
is phenomenal. Yeah, exactly. When we're talking about what kind of fortress you need your home ground to be with a few other clubs, well, here's Villa Park. We got Fulham there next. So you'd like to think we could make that 13 with the way that we're playing currently. It's amazing, mate. Honestly, that whole midfield is superb, though. All three of them that kind of fill those spaces right now. They've gelled so well together, and you can see what Emery's trying to get them to do. And that's
Yeah.
such a key thing.
Well, it's again a contrast to how we've been saying about Manchester United's midfield and their performances, isn't it? That balance in midfield is
Mm.
difficult to find, and I think with so many options for Villa in midfield, Steven Gerrard never found that magic balance, did he? But it feels
Mm.
like Emery found it pretty quickly, to be honest, and he can
Yeah.
change that, flex that to suit his needs. They're fifth in
Mm.
the table now. They're looking up, aren't they?
Mm.
Because below them is
Yeah.
Newcastle in sixth, which is a 5 point cushion between the two of them. Who'd have thought that at the start of the season? So
Yeah.
I know it's early days, but I don't know what Villa's ambitions will be. Clearly, Europe's a big target for them because the Conference League, the path ahead seems so doable, doesn't it? To win that
Yeah.
competition with the resources they've got, but also the way they're playing, it seems achievable. But what about in the
Yeah.
league? How are you feeling about the Premier League and the teams around you at the minute?
I said at the start of the season that I could see us getting into the top four, if not the top five. And I think that's the same still, if we're honest. We're talking about a team who, in this calendar year, only City have got more points than us still. And that's not like we're talking in April about that. Like we're getting close to November now and we're
True.
still in that position. It's unbelievable. We've won 20 games this year. Like we've only ever betted that once in our history, and that was 21. So we're ultimately the best shape we've ever been in, it feels like, particularly in the Premier League era. So I don't see why we can't keep that competition up, because there's depth in that squad as well. And I don't doubt that if they need to go out in January and cement that place in the top five, they will. That's where we fell short when we've been in this position in the past. we had O'Neill getting us close and knocking on the door of the top four, and then we kind of bottled it in our January transfer windows and fell off. Emery won't let that happen, and neither will Monchi, and that's a big thing that he obviously is looking to put his stamp on this squad. And
Yeah.
right now we're seeing it. We went to AZ Alkmaar in the week, which was easily our toughest game in our group, going away from home there, where they've got an impeccable record in European games, and we absolutely tore them apart. And that was without some of our better players. Obviously, Watkins and a few others did feature in that game, whereas they haven't previously. But they just look so ready for this season. And okay, it was only Luton this week, but the run of form we're on now, no one can argue that it's not temporary anymore. It doesn't feel like, oh, we've hit a good stretch. It doesn't feel like a new manager bounce. He's been there a year now, and we're still the second best team in the league since he's come in, or third perhaps. And that's a phenomenal thing to be able to say. And the nicest thing about it for me is that he's adapted as well. This is a manager that when he first came in, everyone talked about how defensive he was going to be. Only Newcastle have matched us for goals scored in the league so far this season, which is ridiculous. We're outscoring Man City. How is that happening? And it's a system that's changed as well. Last year, we talked a lot about how we were kind of drifting from a back four to a back three when we were attacking, and we were attacking down one side with Moreno. Well, Moreno's been out all season, and he's moved to let both fullbacks attack and then bring Kamara back into the defence. And he's been really adaptable at what he's been able to do. And it's amazing seeing that work. And we've got a great list of players who all of them are hitting the top level of their game all at the same time. And that's huge. We've just, the Ballon d'Or's being given out this evening, and Emi Martinez is 15th. We've got a player at Aston Villa who's the 15th best in the world, which is a bit harsh because Bono got 13th somehow. I don't know how Emi Martinez isn't the best goalkeeper when he's won FIFA's best goalkeeper. But hey, I won't complain too much about that. But it's phenomenal times for Villa. And mad. I can't see why we can't be pushing for Champions League now.
I think the contrast between now and 12 months ago, we've talked about a lot, haven't we, in the changes that are made. I think, in all honesty here, I think Villa are probably the neutrals' favourite team to watch now, ahead of Brighton, because I feel like, attacking-wise, they are so free-flowing and so easy at what they do. It just looks like it's so natural to them.